every week, we invite a speaker to our stage, and this could be a special guest or one of our own highly talented members. The one thing that these talks have in common is that they're all designed to help us in some way in our business. This week's speaker is someone who saves many souls from the damnation of frustration. As we all know, technology is amazing when it works, and a complete nightmare when it doesn't. When it works, you might not be giving much thought to this guy I'm thinking of right now. But when all hell breaks loose and your WordPress site delivers nothing more than a white screen of death, he might be one of the most significant creatures in the universe for you. This highly significant creature takes on many shapes. In an instant, he can shapeshift from WordPress hero to background ukulele music musician. When everything else fails and you're out of options, it will undoubtedly be no mistake to reach out to this guy. To date, he has had no failed attempts at reviving white screens of death, and his trusted ukulele is always in tune and ready to go. Today, he's here to tell us about how peer groups have helped him grow his business. Give a warm welcome to Sean Billings.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sindra. Brilliant. Excellent. Right. Let me just share screen. Right. So I thought to myself, yes, I could talk about how much a hero I am when it comes to technical side of things. But actually, I thought what would actually be really nice is to talk about what other people have done for me rather than what I've done for people, and how it's helped me get my business actually to where it is to this day, which I'm eternally grateful for. So I call it a peer group. Now I don't actually necessarily mean this sort of peer group. And if anyone knows the name of that group, then it's just as old as me, if not older. And I might give bonus points out if anyone can name that group later on. So another name for peer groups, and it was actually the first name that I sort of came across, was actually a mastermind group. And again, for whatever reason, my mind goes to this particular game, which I had as a child, used to play Mastermind, and used to also wonder what the cover actually had to do with the game, because I'd never actually connected the two up. I didn't understand what this sort of James Bond villain had to do with colored pegs, but that's a different thing. So the mastermind groups, if you've heard of them before, you may well have heard of them as part of the Think and Grow Rich book, Napoleon Hill book, which is obviously very popular among the entrepreneur circles. But fundamentally, it's about a group of minds getting together and being more powerful than the sum of their parts. So it's about accountability. It's being challenged, helping grow and learn leadership skills. There's some networking. Really important part of the mastermind group is business is often actually done within that peer group as well, because you get to know, like, and trust them so well. Friendship, it's not something wasn't something I initially thought of would actually be an important part of a peer group or a mastermind group, but actually I have some very good friends from a previous mastermind group and the existing one that I'm in. Confidence, the more you're interacting with peers and you have cognitive diversity. I don't know if anyone knows what that phrase means, but it's when you've got a group of people that aren't necessarily having the same values and thought processes that you do, that cognitive diversity can actually become really important to helping you clarify. Because I've always heard the phrase, if you've got two people in business that agree, then you've got one too many. And that cognitive diversity, I feel, is really, is a really important thing to go and actually get people that you don't agree with and actually learn to listen to them. Other side effects, obviously, of doing this is you increase profits. But I think fundamentally it's about what it helps you get to is having a personal vision as well as a business vision, and actually how those two link together. Because one of the main things I learned from this is actually what was the purpose of the business. Because, you know, up until I probably embarked on this, the purpose of the business was just giving me a job. It was giving me an income, and I was going to work. So I didn't really know what the purpose of the business was. It was just providing me, you know, once I knew what the purpose of the business was, what my personal vision was, the business's objective is then to help provide that personal vision, provide that lifestyle you want. That's why Richard's out on the slopes right now, because he knows that, you know, what his business is for is to help him achieve his personal vision. And one thing that I always like to think of is, if there's something that I'm still doing 2 years later, 3 years later, then it must be worth it. And I'm still doing it. So one of the things that the current group I'm a member of, and just to you know, get it out there, Guy is actually my peer board leader. So the group, you know, I'm a member of Tab. That's why I invited him along, because I wanted him to show him what I get out of it at a personal and business level as well, because he might not appreciate sometimes how it can affect the people that are members of his board group. So I wanted to invite him along. It might sound like I'm doing a sales pitch for him, but basically I'm just, you know, I'm a happy customer, and I know that my business wouldn't be where it is right now today if it wasn't for the fact that I followed these processes through, and I'll explain some of that later. So one of the things we do the first things we do when we go for the meetings, we ask what our tank score is. Now, it's not actually this game, and again, if you can name that game, you're at least as old as me. It's actually about how your resilience, if you like, and, you know, in tank as in energy, you know, like a mobile phone, however you want to categorize it. It's how you feel you are on that scale. Now, it's normally a score out of 10, and some people in your peer group may well score quite low. So what I'd actually like to do is just a little bit of audience participation. Yep. That'll wake you all up. It's just to put your tank score into the chat window. So out of 10, 10 being you're absolutely, you know, fully topped up, and 1 obviously being you're pretty low on energy. I'd like you to put your tank score in, please. Brilliant. I love Porrig's 8.2, very specific. Okay, and the next thing that's often asked is, well, it's not often, it's always asked, is, and again, Sindra asked this in a way at the start of the meeting, but rather than his being an optional question, this is you have to ask this. So you've got to go back and think, since you last met, what was the best personal thing that happened to you, and the best business? Now, it's important that it's the best item, because the idea is it's about, the way I look at it, it's about focusing you on the good things that have happened, because we're very good as human, you know, the human condition is very good at looking at all the bad stuff that's happened to us over the last month or last week. But by focusing on the good stuff, we actually appreciate, you know, that there has been some good stuff happen. So again, if you're up for it, I'd love to see what your best personal and your best business things have happened in the last week. You can chuck those in the chat window for me. That would be great to see those. And it's also good at exercise to see that actually, yes, how well you actually can recall these things happening. Yep, some good things coming out there, and that's exactly the sort of thing that I was looking for. So I thought what I'd do is take you on a bit of a whirlwind journey of what I've actually got up to over the past almost 3 years, actually as part of the Tab group. And luckily everything's recorded, so I've got all of the subjects and, you know, and everything that I've done over the last 3 years. And so I picked through some of those and picked some highlights out. So this was one of the very early topics that I brought to the board back in May 2020. So this was very early on in my tab journey, and I was at a situation where I had no clients to speak. Very small client base. Literally one or two, because something happened at the start of 2020. I can't recall what it was, but it had quite a major impact on a lot of businesses. And I was, exactly the same as a lot of people, thinking, right, how do I now grow this business back to where it was? How do I get myself a customer base, a loyalty, and all those sort of things? So this was one of the first things I asked. And then this was, if you like, what I agreed to after. So this discussion then goes around your peers. They'll ask me various questions on a round table basis. Then I'll get a set of recommendations from each one of them, but then I choose what commitments I want to do. So this is my accountability. So I'd chosen on May 2020 that that's what I was going to do. And I did actually do that. So I'm held accountable, because obviously the next time we meet, they're going to say, did you do it? And if you didn't, there's going to be questions as to why. So then we'll go forward to June 2020. And those that know me would know that this was actually quite a big tipping point in my business. So I had some issues where things were starting to work. I was rebuilding my customer base, but I was struggling to actually manage my time effectively. I was really struggling with how I'd committed myself and what I was doing and making sure I was getting stuff done. Because one of my things is I don't like to let people down. And I felt that, if I wasn't managing my time properly, I could be letting people down. So this then became the early seeds, if you like, of a time management system that I still use to this day. And if we go back to what I said, if I'm still using something in 2 to 3 years' time, it must work. And one thing you can't take away from me is my time management system, because that I live and die by. It's what gets me through every week. So this was, if you like, the starting point. This is where the if you like, that idea moment hit in, and I started to commit to building this system. We'll now go through to July 2020. And, I was starting now to hone the business a bit more. How can I, level up my 60-second pitch? Is there further business improvements I can do? We'll prepare a brand statement for Syrinx, create strong names for the 3 product lines, which I did. And those product lines are still there now. And then at December 2020, so the end of each year, this is something that happens, is you then review the year that you're up to now. And the reason you're doing that is because you're then starting to set the plans for what you're going to do next year. So it's very structured and a very good way of me being accountable as well to my peer group, because I'm now, they're also helping review my year to date. So there's no hiding, everything's out in the open. And obviously then I get some actions to take away and actually do and work on that. And again, this is the start of me then moving to a 4-day week, which was actually quite important. And again, it's something I'm still doing now. The 4-day week, I've actually, it's counterintuitive, but one thing I have found is the 4-day week, I can get more done in a 4-day week than I was getting done in a 5-day week. Don't ask me how it works, but I think that extra day of rest, extra day of getting my tank refilled, actually means that those 4 days I can be super productive. Then June 2021, I had a particular issue with a client that had sort of almost gone a bit toxic in some ways. They had a change of team. I was dealing with different people, and I was having some real real personal issues, not enjoying at all working with them. One thing I like to do is I like to like my clients. You know, a lot of them are good friends, and I want to work with people that I like. And I was having issues with this one, so I put it to the board. You know, should I just give notice? Should I just sack them off? But actually, what we decided was we're going to use this as a learning exercise for me as to what was, what was going on. Why was I having issues with this? I need to learn. Yeah, there's something I need to learn here before I do ditch them. I never did actually ditch them, and I'm still working for them now because I made some good learnings from working with that. September 22. So, this is quite a recent board session. So I was getting to the point where I just got so much stuff again going on. Although I'm managing it with the time management system, I was feeling like I wasn't necessarily looking after myself properly. I was putting too much, I know that most of the pressure I put on myself because, again, I don't want to let people down. And I was asking for some help from the board for doing that. And this is what I committed to doing. And to be honest with you, deleting all the email off of me tablet and Kindle was one of the best things I ever done. Because if I don't see it, I'm not going to worry about it. And if it's an email, it can wait until Monday morning when I'm working. And that has actually worked really well for me. And I'm sure you, Andy, would agree with not having personal emails on a device that you're reading in bed. So that was sorted that out lovely for me. So I suppose really, I think probably had a good 10 minutes there, Sindra. My question is a peer group right for you? I mean, as an independent business owner, it's only me that I'm responsible for. Certainly having other people that I'm accountable to, and also the fact that I know that I'm an important part of their business as well, is something that I would not want to change. So there you go, handing back to the studio.